Hey guys, it's Zizzle here to look at the Monday Night Football Showdown Slate. So we got the Kansas City Chiefs against the Denver Broncos. So we're just going to dive in like we do always, kind of give my thoughts on the slate overall and how I see the game going. And then we'll look at who we like for the captain spot and then some cheaper options and things like that to fill out the rest of the lineup. And then we'll actually build one on screen here for you guys. So obviously, Kansas City has been kind of the talk of the NFL, and Patrick Mahomes more specifically, with just how amazing their offense has been, um, but also how terrible their defense has been as well. So I think this is going to be a high-scoring game. Vegas has it as a high total in the 50s. So we want to definitely try to target as many of these offensive players as we can. I think we're going to definitely avoid the defenses this week. I just don't see this game being a defensive battle. If you wanted to go crazy in a GPP, I maybe would go Denver's D and hope maybe just Mahomes on this big stage turns the ball over a couple times, but not likely. He seems like he's just a stud overall, and is going to be a guy week in, week out that can be relied upon to put up tons of points and just destroy defenses, especially in this offense with all the firepower that is around him. So if we look at the captain slot, I think that obviously people are going to want to play Mahomes, but I just don't think we can. And we don't love playing quarterbacks. Obviously, Mahomes would be one of the exceptions, but if we throw him in, you only have 6,000 to work with. And even if we came down and say we threw in one of the kickers and a cheap guy, like it just doesn't give you really enough to get some of these other higher priced guys in the lineup. So I think we're gonna avoid going to Mahomes. We may have a lineup or two where we just kind of fit him in, but I think there's some other places that we can look. So obviously Tyreek Hill is always in play. But he's obviously expensive as well. But you could definitely fit him in. He's more of a GPP play for me, just based on how he plays overall, where he's kind of more boom or bust, as we saw here, 45. Then he has a solid day of 20, but then we can also get weeks where we're going to get 7 points. And it's just because he doesn't necessarily get tons of volume. It's what he does with that volume, though, at times, where he can just bust huge plays, and that's always in play for Tyreek Hill, but probably more of a GPP play than cash for me. So have a little bit of him sprinkled in if you're going to be mass entering, but kind of this lineup where we kind of focus more on cash and kind of getting a higher floor, we probably won't go there. Case Keenum, I think that he's going to score a good amount of points. Kansas City's defense has been horrific. They're terrible at defending the pass. And Kansas City scores a lot of points themselves, so Denver's going to have to keep up. And they're going to have to throw and score, and that bodes well for Keenum. So I do like Keenum. So definitely he's an option. And then we're brought kind of down to probably my two favorite captain slots, which is Kelsey and Sanders. I think Kelsey's the most reliable Chiefs pass catcher. If we look at him from a game log perspective, I mean, it's obviously 6 in week 1, but 10 targets in week 2 and week 3. I think that you're going to see along those type of numbers every single week for him. And if he gets into the end zone, things kind of really explode, as you saw here. But even if they don't, 22 points, and if you put him in the captain slot, you'll boost that up even more. So I really do like Kelsey. Kansas City's going to score, they're going to throw, and he's getting the ball more than any of the other targets. Probably doesn't have as much upside as a Hill or maybe even a Watkins at times. It just doesn't have as much big playability, but he's getting the ball just so much that I love Kelsey. And then Emmanuel Sanders. He's been the main guy for Denver so far. Every week been pretty solid. See, week 1, 11 targets, 32 points. Then 13 and 18. He's just been really good, and he's been getting the targets. And I think Keenum kind of views him as his main target. He does throw a lot to, obviously, Demaryius Thomas as well, who I do like too. but I prefer Sanders just because I think he's kind of been established through this first couple weeks as Keenum's favorite target. Kareem Hunt don't love too much, just hasn't been producing. They've been throwing the football, and he doesn't catch the ball to the backfield. Watkins I like, and I could see you taking a flyer in a couple lineups and putting him at the captain spot. And then obviously Demaryius Thomas I like too, because I think this is going to be a high-scoring game, and I think that Kansas City, especially on the outside, is just really, really bad. And Demaryius is getting the ball as well. You see 10, 11, only 5 last week, but still getting a lot of targets, just hasn't really broken that big play yet and hasn't been getting in the end zone too much, but tonight could be that night. This is going to be maybe the easiest matchup that he'll have all season. So I do like him as well. Some other crazy flyers where if you want to really just fit like all the studs in, I could see you putting Sutton at a captain spot. We've been waiting for him to kind of bust out. And this is the secondary to attack in the game that he could do it. He is the third target, though, so obviously not a high floor. And that's kind of the only places I would go from a captain perspective. So let's start with Sanders. Let's throw him in there and see how that works out for us. It was between Kelsey and Sanders for me. I'm going to go Emmanuel Sanders just because he's a little cheaper, and we do want to try to fit in some of these other guys. So we go to the flex spot. Some other people that I didn't touch on that I like. I think Royce Freeman is not a bad play. Lindsey as well. Kansas City, again, just a terrible defense. And Denver's going to have opportunities to score, especially, Freeman's kind of been the goal line back for them. So I could see him getting a touchdown, maybe even 2, just punching him in. And that'd be really good value at 4K. We talked about Sutton having an opportunity. You can always go with the kickers. We usually like to do that in cash, throw one of the kickers in. I probably prefer McManus. I just think Kansas City hasn't been kicking field goals. They've been just extra points pretty much every time through the season. I have Butker on my season-long team, and 2 field goals. So it's pretty much just been an extra point guy. So I'd probably prefer McManus, who 4 field goals for the year. So I prefer to go there. Not going to touch the defenses. And then Conley and Heuerman are not terrible plays either, because Kansas City's terrible against the tight end. Their whole defense is terrible in general. And I could see him for 2,000. He's kind of their main tight end. Maybe he, can hit value here. Maybe he get 50 yards and a touchdown or something like that. And then he really goes crazy for you there, and you totally get that value for 2K, and it lets you fit some of the big time players in your lineup. And Conley too, just to get more exposure to the Chiefs offense and more exposure to Pat Mahomes, pretty much. So I don't think that Conley is a terrible play either for that price point. And we look at him, he's got 9 points, 8 points the last 2 weeks. So he's been getting, someone they've been targeting in the red zone. Why not? Why couldn't he have an even bigger day, though? Maybe catching the football and also get in the end zone again. And then for that cheap value, you got a shot. Not really going to touch anybody else. People will maybe mention Booker or Ware. I'm not going there. Not going to do it. So let's see what we can do with this build. We want to have quarterbacks in here for cash. Let's go with Mahomes. I would like both of them, but I don't know if I can do it. So we'll wait and see. Let's try to get some of these cheaper guys. We mentioned Sutton that we like. And let's put in McManus, put the kicker in. Look at this, 8,300 left over. We do really like Demaryius Thomas, too. We want just as many pass catchers up against this Kansas City team as we can get. If we do that, just miss out on Kelsey. I would have loved to have been able to get Kelsey in there as well. Let's see what I do here. If I go Kelsey, and I get off McManus, I can do Conley. And then I've got Sutton, Sanders, and Demarius. I got all the pass catchers from Denver. And then I match up Mahomes with his number one target in Kelsey. Take a flyer on Conley. I don't think that's bad at all. I think that's a good lineup to get you just tons of exposure to both passing games. I do like that a lot. Let's just try some other things that we could do. I think there's so many ways you could play this. Let's try to get... Let's see. Maybe we throw Royce Freeman in. We liked him. Maybe you go with the tight end. And then you come up to Keenum. And then you could then get your pick here between Watkins and Demarius Thomas. You could go Watkins. And you get Mahomes and Watkins. You got Keenum and Mahomes in there, both quarterbacks. And you still get Sanders and Heuerman. I think that these targets and these touchdowns can go to so many different players in this game. Both of these teams have 3 or 4 different options. Denver's got Sanders, Sutton, and Demarius Thomas, who I think are all talented players who can make big plays. And then they also have Heuerman, who's an outside shot. You could take a flyer on. They have the running back, Royce Freeman, who could get some burn. And then on Kansas City, the Hill, Kelsey, Hunt, Conley, Watkins. So guessing who it's going to be, maybe you want to say, I'm just going to avoid that. I'm going to just put the quarterbacks in so that way you get exposure no matter what. Whoever scores the touchdowns, whoever gets the yards, you're at least getting a piece of that. So you start with both of them in there, and then you kind of take your pick from there about where you want to go, So, even if we just start there and put Keenum in, so then we like Sanders a lot. We get Mahomes and Keenum, both the quarterbacks, and then we kind of have to pick what we want from there. Let's say we go kicker, we go McManus, we like Sutton, and then that can get us up to 6,800. That doesn't help us too much. I don't know if we want to do that because can't get up to one of these guys. We're just leaving it, So maybe you have to come off McManus and go with Conley, and then that gets up you to 7,600, and then you could at least get a Watkins or a Thomas. And then there you go. So you just got both the quarterbacks, and then you're just taking flyers on as many pass catchers as you can get. I think that's the best way to attack this. Maybe get the quarterbacks, and then try to just get as many pieces of both passing games as you can. And I think you'll be in good shape. And if the guys you have in the lineup are the guys that get all the yardage, you really hit it big. If they just have decent games, I still think you could be in the money because you're getting the exposure to both quarterbacks. So that's how I'm going to be approaching this slate. So good luck to everybody tonight. If you're liking the video, a like would be appreciated. Please subscribe too if you're enjoying the content. And I'll talk to you guys later in the week when we review the weekend slate. So I'll see you guys next time.